There we go. Hi there, everybody. Now my Zoom's starting to update. Hello, hello. Welcome to this edition of the Virtuous Insider. Cool, look at that. People are starting to file in. So come on in, find a seat here in the lecture hall, whatever kind of metaphor you want to use. We'll give you all a second to get in and get comfy here. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Virtuous Insider. This time we're doing a partner spotlight with our friends at Fundraise Up, which is going to be super exciting. We're excited to have them on board here and work with them. They're cool folks. They're in Brooklyn, so of course they're hip. They're really cool. Now, before we get started, just a couple of quick ground rules, some business things here. We are recording the session, so if you're really excited to be able to watch this later, share it with friends and family. It'll be in our support center, just like we do with all of the insider sessions, so you can view it from there. We do want to get some good audio, hopefully, so everybody is muted for today. I think that's pretty standard now. We're all kind of used to Zoom, but we love your questions. So if you have a question, just go ahead. You see right there on that slide, there's a little Q&A box. You can send it in there. We'll also be in the chat, so you can always chat with us. But if you can send it in through the Q&A, that way we don't lose track of your question. We can make sure that we answer it when we get time to be able to do that. And I said we will be in the chat because it's not just me, right? So I am Scott Richards. First of all, anybody who doesn't know, I'm the Director of Training here at Virtuous. And I am joined today by our very special guest, Wil Pope. Wil is from Fundraise Up. How you doing, Wil?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the intro, Scott.
Awesome. Yeah, I wasn't going to build you up too much, but I think it's just always nice. And I'm sure that everybody here, all of you folks who have been clients for a long time, are super excited when it's not just Scott's voice again for another 30 minutes. I'll say it because we're all thinking it. Totally fine. But I don't have tons of slides. We're not going to kill you guys with PowerPoint, but we wanted to talk a little bit about Fundraise Up and a little bit about online fundraising. Good eye, Joel. Joel just put in the chat that Scott did update his profile picture. So those of you who saw me pop up in the app, yeah, it's been the same picture for a long time. And my hairline is not the same as it was back in that old picture. I figure it's time to embrace reality. Always surprised how many people pay attention to that stuff. But Wil, tell us a little bit first off about Fundraise Up, because I know there's some folks probably who don't know that much about you guys. Who are you guys? What do you do?
Definitely. Yeah, we are an online giving platform. So we go right on your website, and our goal is to make giving online as easy, as frictionless as possible, so that you as an organization can receive more donations, more recurring donors, and make the process as easy as possible for your donors and for you as an organization. So we like to say that we are a surgical precision knife, rather than a Swiss Army knife, trying to make the online giving process as best as possible, not going into the other fields. We integrate with Virtuous, who does an amazing job at so much other parts of your donation experience, and we want to make this one part as best as possible.
That is awesome. Yeah, and I mean, specialists, it's a good thing, right? Hey, let's take one thing and let's do that one thing better than everybody. Let's not try to be like some other platforms in this space who we won't name, but who try to just be everything and not do any of those things particularly well. That's not always great. So Wil, I know we wanted to talk a little bit about, that is your specialty, right? Like online giving, yep. Online fundraising. And so what are some of the keys you think to really successful? Because I think everybody's got like just a donate button on the website, right? We're kind of used to that. You look somewhere, there's a button and I can give, but what are the things that you can do to make that a little bit more effective?
Yeah. So what we've seen, just as the rest of the world is going online, we all work online and date online and shop online. I think more and more people are donating online now too. And a ton of people are going to your website, clicking the donate button, but not actually donating. What we've seen in our research is that out of every 100 people that donate or that click on your donate button, only 18 of them are actually going to follow through and make a donation. So how do we engage those other 82? How do we make it a little bit easier for them? Because there must be some kind of friction that's stopping them from donating. So we've come up with a couple ways through a bunch of research and a bunch of A/B testing to make your form as easy as possible, so that people will follow through, and maybe you can capture a little bit more of those 82 people out of 100 that aren't that are clicking your button and not finishing through with the donation. So, and if you add that up with, let's say they're giving $20, if you add that 82 people more that you're getting $20, I can't promise that you're going to get all 82, but that's a lot of money that adds up over time.
Well, yeah, and even if you got a quarter of them, right? If you got a slice of those 82, let's say you got 20 people more to fully convert and give you a gift at $20 a piece, and then you look at the traffic that's going to your site, the folks that are clicking that donate button. I mean, like you said, those dollars start to add up really quickly if you can be doing this efficiently.
Exactly. And it's really just a couple simple things. So the e-commerce world doesn't really have this problem as much. Amazon has an amazing way of converting. I'm addicted to buying things on there. I'm sure many of you are. And they've figured out, how to get you to keep buying once you've clicked and added something into your cart. So what we've seen is some of those same techniques and those same technologies are just there's a science behind a giving form and donating or buying something online. So here's a couple of the things that we've found reduce that friction a lot. One is never redirecting someone. So when they click on a donate button, if it takes them to a different page or even a different website with a different URL, that freaks a lot of people out, or that just takes too long because, let's say they have bad internet, that you're having to load another page up. And what we've seen is a redirect results in the loss of 10% of all your donors. So if we're still with this 100 analogy, now you only have 90 engaged right now after you've redirected them. So you want
to do an embed. Basically, you want to have them stay natively on your page, because I think people, especially who are not super technical, right? The minute that it tries to load a new thing or it pops a thing up, immediately you think, oh man, this is something bad. I clicked on the wrong thing. I got to get out of here.
Yep.
So
that's what we definitely recommend an embed, or you click the donate button and a modal pops up, somewhere where you're staying on the same page. You're not getting taken to to having to load up a new thing. Is definitely
could you just real quickly for some of the folks on here too, and like you said, everybody's more online. Definitely. We're all doing more stuff. But you used a word that I don't think everybody's familiar with all the time, certainly, which is modal, right? So when we talk about that, what does that mean? How's that different from like an embed or a redirect?
Yeah. So a modal, it's similar to a pop-up, but different in a lot of ways too, where it's not a pop-up where in fact your pop-up blocker would block it or something like that. Where what a modal is trying to think of the easiest way to explain this. It's just almost a form that's going to overlay over the page that you're on. So you could still see the page that you're on in the background, maybe a little bit grayed out, and then a form's going to overlay it right in front of it. So you're still right there on the page. If you exit out, you're still right where you were at, but that is going to overlay over it immediately, and that's what your eyes are focused on the page now.
Perfect. And sorry, I put you on the spot and didn't tell you I was going to make you define that. And for those of you guys, if you want to put this in virtuous context, any of you who have ever clicked the add a contact button, that opens a modal. That little tray, that thing opens up on the right-hand side of the page. That's a modal. You haven't left virtuous. The URL hasn't changed. It's not a new window that pops open. It's just this other element that kind of lays on top of what's on the screen.
Exactly.
And now you have a challenge in the chat, Will. I hope you're ready for that. I don't know if you've already used it in a sentence. So can you spell modal?
You got me. I think it's the same as module.
So I'm going to do this spelling bee style. I'll pick up my mic here. So it's modal, MODAL, modal. Thank you.
There you go. You got me. I didn't know how to spell it. So I got fourth place in the spelling bee in fifth grade, but that must have been the word that got me out.
Oh man, you did better than me then. That's good.
Well, I'll move on to the spot on the form that we've seen that donors spend a long time on is the amount section. So donors very often are debating, how much should I give? What's a good amount to give? So what we've seen is this gets into a little bit technical, but if you have some kind of way to suggest amounts to the donor, and some kind of way, an AI per se, or something that can know based on different data points that you've collected from the donor what they are going to give, and suggest those to the donor, then they're not going to spend all of their time on that one part of the form where they're thinking about what that amount is. And the faster they get through the form, the more likely they are going to donate. So if you can suggest those amounts and have great suggestions based on data that work really well, then they're going to get through that faster and not be paused by the amount section.
Well, and what I love about that is this is using new technology and in this sort of digital fundraising space, using stuff that as fundraisers, we've already learned in terms of direct mail, right? The amount of time that people will spend doing analytics, doing a modeling project to make sure that we're targeting the right ask amount, because we know if we ask you for too little, we've left money on the table. And if we ask you for too much, most of the time you don't give at all because you think your gift can't help. And so we've spent all this time trying to right size the ask in sort of these other methods, right? Direct mail and even in email. And so what you're talking about is not, not to say that it's not great and it's not cutting edge, but it's not some random thing that's just been made up. It's applying what we've learned over years and years and years into this sort of new space.
Exactly. 100%. And what we've seen is that in the online world, so often, you don't know who's coming to your website. So, where in the direct mail, it's like you're having this really catered ask and you're using a lot of things. What we've seen is you can just take things like all the things that Google Analytics is taking from you every time you go to a website. You can take things like IP geolocation, what kind of device someone is coming from, how many times they've clicked on your website before. And all of those things together actually is extremely accurate in predicting how much someone will give, of just those simple demographic data, and being able to have that cater that ask is really accurate and works extremely well. We've seen iPhone users give 30% more than Android users. So coming from an iPhone, we already know to ask them a tiny bit more.
That's crazy. Wow.
So I guess iPhone users are more generous. So nicer.
We're just extrapolating from the data points.
Or just richer. I don't know.
To give more.
Yeah. And so I'll move on. I'll move on to the next thing would be what we've seen is that the longer someone goes throughout a form, so as they're going down it, the more likely they are to abandon at the end, the longer that they're on it. So, and the part where people abandon the most is putting in their payment information, putting in their credit card or their bank account. So what we've seen is that if you put the payment information section, but first, if you put that at the beginning, when people are more likely to give it, and when they're at the beginning of filling out their form, when they're less likely to abandon, that works a lot better because they're more likely to right then, and they get that locked in for the rest as they give the rest of their information, because that's the hardest part to get them to put in.
That's so funny because I feel like the vast majority of donation forms you see, they get you in, they get you to commit to amount, and then the end part is like, okay, now payment. Even like a multi-stage form is usually, let's give. What do you want to do with that money? Are you giving this as a tribute to somebody? And then, okay, give us your payment info. And I know for me, right, half the time I have to walk away because I have to go, where did I put my wallet and where's my credit card? And I have to go find it, type it in. But yeah, it feels counterintuitive, but it's a really neat idea because, like you said, once you've done that, you're pretty darn committed. If you went and you found your wallet and you got your credit card and you typed it in, I already put my stuff in here, I better finish it up.
Exactly. And on that note, if you give people the option to use Apple Pay or Google Pay or Plaid or one of these payment options that's extremely easy to use, and it's just clicking one button, then you're getting them in even faster if you have those options on your donation form.
Awesome. So yeah, and it's again, people have talked before about reducing friction. Hey, you want to reduce friction in the online giving process to make it easy for them to convert. But what's neat is you guys, sounds like you have a lot of data points, because, hey, I want to reduce friction. Everybody wants to reduce friction. But the question is, well, how do I do that? What's the best way to do that? How can I make it easier? And some of the stuff that you're sharing too is really neat in terms of, hey, what's the placement of your payment information, right? How can I offer you a digital wallet and make it easier for you to pay?
Yeah, 100%. I think that I know I buy everything with Apple Pay. I hate breaking out my credit card anymore, so why can't I donate that way too?
Well, we've already established I'm just old and stuck in my ways, so I still use my credit card whenever possible. That's how I roll.
Um, True. I mean, in New York now, you can just scan Apple Pay to get into the subway. You don't even have to swipe a card anymore. So it's like if we can't do that with donations, but we can do it on the subway, we gotta get with the times.
Oh man. Well, the New York subway system made a lot more money off me when I lived there every time I lost my card and had to buy a new one. So
True.
I'm sure for them, they're
Maybe they're
taking a
losing
hit
less money,
somewhere.
losing more money. Yeah. And another one would be requiring less information. So especially, I know this one might be a little bit controversial, but the we've seen that donors are twice as likely to give online if you don't require mailing address for them to give, because out of all the fields that you ask of a donor, name, email address, things like that, mailing address is the longest one. They got to put in address, state, city, zip code. And so if you don't require that, people are twice as likely to give. And if you're using, many payment processors now, especially Stripe, actually have other ways of verifying a credit card rather than billing address, even more advanced ways. So they don't even need that to be able to verify the payment. So if you don't require it, you're going to get twice as many people that will follow through. And then what we've seen is that if you ask it after the transaction occurs, so you've already locked in the donation, you ask it, why don't you give us your mailing address so we can thank you? 60% of the time, people are still going to give it.
And that's part of the checkout process. So basically, I've submitted and it said, thank you for your gift. And right then and there, it's popping up another modal probably that asks me to put in my address so they can send me a thank you.
Correct. Exactly. But it's optional. I mean, they don't have to do it. But what we've seen is that makes it so that a lot more people are going to give you donations, and still 60% of people will give you their address.
That's really awesome. Well, that's something we've talked about too in Virtuous, using automation and really being responsive. We talked about that responsive framework, right? The big part of that is listening and trying to connect to your donors. And so one of the things we've encouraged too is even after that online gift comes in, instead of just sending an automatic, hey, thank you so much, your gift is awesome and you're cool, also sending them a link to a survey to say, hey, we want to know more about you. What are you interested in as a donor? What brought you to us? What makes you tick? And part of that is I can ask you, what's your address? So I can send you something in the mail. But again, reduce that friction up front and then build a deeper relationship afterwards, now that I've already gotten you to come in as a donor. And building that relationship is then about retaining you as a donor longer term.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself.
This is awesome. Well, hey, I know we're got about 10 minutes left. These go pretty quickly. Well, I don't know if you had any other knowledge you wanted to drop on us, or if you wanted to chat a little bit about the integration that we now have between Fundraise Up and Virtuous.
Yeah, I would love to. So Fundraise Up has implemented all of these things into our platform to try to get more people to follow through with your donation form, and we've actually seen on our platform that we've raised that number. The last time I checked was yesterday, to 37%. So 37 of those people will follow through on our platform. And we just built out an integration with Virtuous so that all of that data goes seamlessly right into Virtuous and with your CRM. And I'd love to show you guys how that works.
Well, here, yeah, let me stop sharing my screen, and then you should be able to show off yours.
Okay.
Take us through it.
Great. Here we go.
And if Zoom yells at you, just tell me. I'll smack it around. Oh, good. There you go.
Here I am. All right. So, in your platform, so you have an insights tab. You have all of your donations coming through. You can create your campaigns, but then in your settings, here's where I'll show you that you can set up an integration where you can connect with Virtuous. So you just add it right here. You connect with Virtuous. And then you kind of have three different things that you set up within the integration. So first, you're going to set up what are the default places that are going to map over into Virtuous. So because Fundraise Up is we're just collecting those donations, and you're probably going to be running all of your analytics and all of your messaging and everything through Virtuous. So we want to make sure that all of that data goes over exactly how you'd like it to go over into Virtuous. So first, you'll set up just all of your default settings of what is the fund that's going to go, the donation is going to go into if you haven't listed one already, or how are you going to match contacts so that when we send a donor into Virtuous, how does it search for a duplicate so that it knows to associate that donation with that specific contact rather than creating a new one? And then you'll set up mapping rules. So obviously there's probably going to be things in Fundraise Up that are called something different in Virtuous. And we know that people use Virtuous in different ways with different custom fields. So you can set up a mapping rule of whatever you want, whatever data field you have in Virtuous. Let's say it's designation name. What do you want that to be called in Fundraise Up? What do you want that to be called in Virtuous? So I want designation name to be called project name. And then from now on, every single time something goes over, designation name will always go to project name in Virtuous. And then you can also set up special rules. So let's say that works for every single designation you have in Fundraise Up except for one. There's one that's actually going to have a different project name in Virtuous. So I can set up, let's say that I've been mapping campaign name. The very specific campaign can be called different specific campaign in Virtuous. So they build on top of each other. It's going to go the default settings first, then the mapping rules, and then the special rules or any exceptions to that, so that you can have your data exactly how you want it to go. And then you have an automatic sync down here. So all of those, every time a donation comes through, it automatically syncs over to Virtuous right then. You don't have to export a big batch and import that in over. So it's just always going over as they come in.
I think those special rules are probably one of the neatest parts of this. We've got, our philosophy from the beginning has always been, hey, we're happy to have people play in our sandbox, right? We want to integrate with best-in-class tools. Like you said, you guys are specialists. This is what you do, right? We wanted to build the best nonprofit CRM. And if you've got a great tool, plug it into ours. But the fact that you guys have this ability to create these special mapping rules for these unique situations, because any integration, that's always kind of the problem, right? Hey, it's a monolith. It does the same thing every time. And any technology, right? It's like, oh man, this is going to work for 90% of my cases and 10 of them are going to be terrible. But the fact that I can actually build in special rules to account for that 10%, that is slick.
Yeah, we our goal is always to make everything easy as possible for the donor, but that doesn't really mean anything if we're actually making it harder for the donor administrator. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you, in the platform every day as well, because we know that you're going to be using a CRM. We know that you're going to be using Virtuous, so we want to make sure that it works well with it. So because we're not a standalone product. We have to be used with the CRM. So
that's awesome. Well, and I can see we got Jonathan in the chat. He's sharing some of what he likes about some of these special mapping rules and things, being able to use UTM parameters and tie them into Virtuous campaigns or Virtuous segments. Correct. So it really is, I think, a very flexible integration. There's some others where, hey, this is the rules, this is how it's built, this is how it maps, and that's kind of how you got to roll. This one really does give you a lot of control, which I think is really neat.
Thank you. We
Yeah,
enjoy
you
it a
take all the
lot.
credit, Will. It's totally you.
I built it myself. No, we like it a lot, and we're always trying to improve it too. So we always we're happy to take suggestions. If you noticed something wrong right now, feel free to let me know.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, and that's like I think that's why we get along too, right? We're always listening. We're always looking for what we can improve, we can build better, we can do better. So that really works. Hey, I know we are very short on time. If there are other folks who have questions out there about the integration or anything like that, certainly let us know. Here, let me. Now you're just going to be staring at us, and that's, at least speaking for myself, that's no bueno.
I see there is a question in the.
Yeah, there is. There's a question in there, man. And that's for you, Will. I think that's all for you because it's a question about pricing.
Yep. So yeah, we are pricing right now. Yeah, we do have our annual processing over $1 million, because that is our I don't really like the word ideal, but that's our normal customer that we are usually working with, because our product is built for a lot of the enterprise nonprofits, just with some of the features that we have. The smaller nonprofits totally can use as much. I mean, there's nothing against that, but some of them are just catered a little bit more towards a larger nonprofit with those needs. That price is 2.5% for those organizations above $1 million, but for below $1 million, it is 3.5%.
Okay, so it's not like, hey, you
so
got to get to this.
It's not a
we'll
closed
talk to
door.
you.
We can work with smaller organizations. So, but sometimes we have a partner. We have a couple of partner agencies that can help onboard clients and things like that, that work with our smaller organizations as well. So
Awesome. Excellent. Well, hey, this has been really great. If you guys have other questions for us, go ahead and send them in. That's totally fine. I know we're pretty close to time though. And I told Will, the 30 minutes goes fast, man. It goes really quick.
went really fast.
Yeah, it does. But we appreciate you guys spending the 30 minutes with us too. You know, we don't want to take too much of your time because you guys are committing to spend time with us every week, which we appreciate. Before I let everybody go, though, I do want to make sure that I remind you to join us. You know, we do this every week, same bat time, same bat channel. Next week, we'll be taking the pulse of the product. We'll be talking to Jason Van Loo, the director of product, about some of the newest features we've rolled out, some of the newest features yet to roll out. And as always, taking your questions, taking your comments, and talking about where we're going basically from here. And as always, I do like to leave you guys with a quote from someone who is smarter than me. This time, and I see Will laughing at me, but this time, this one is actually from Brock Warner. And Will mentioned, so Brock is a partner of yours, right?
Yes. Yeah, we love working with Brock.
That is excellent. So he's got a great book, From the Ground Up, Digital Fundraising for Nonprofits, right? There's a ton of fundraising books out there. I like that this one really specifically talks about the challenges and the unique needs of digital fundraising today. And I thought this is a great quote because we're talking to Fundraise Up. You guys are tools some people may not have heard of. You guys doing some really slick stuff and being able to introduce some of that to everybody. But you don't have to master every new tool right away, right? But an understanding of what it does, who it's for, and how it works goes a long way in helping you understand how it might fit alongside what is already working for you. So kind of what we did today, right? Hey, you guys don't have to be experts on Fundraise Up, but we want you to understand what it does and who it's for, because it might be something that you want to add to the mix of tools that you're already working with. And of course, it integrates directly with Virtuous. So we're trying to make that part easy. Will, any special parting thoughts, words of wisdom, things you want to leave our audience with?
Ooh,
brain
put me on the
nuggets.
spot. I would say, I think that any way that you can make donating easier, and this doesn't even have to apply to online fundraising. Just any way that you can lower that bar so that someone will donate with as little friction as possible, do it. I think that's my parting wisdom.
There you go. Remove those barriers to entry. Make it easy to give. That's awesome. Hey, thank you, Wil. Thanks for joining us this week.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for inviting me. And it was so great talking to everyone.
Yes. Thank you guys, all of you, for joining us. Thank you for hopping into the chat and chatting with us. And we will see you all next week.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.